This is Bill Kimler, co-host of the Black, White, and Blue in the South podcast. This Halloween, stand out from the crowd with ZJZDesigns.com. Their brand new limited edition spooky prints are here to haunt your wardrobe in the best way possible. With 5 new chilling designs, you'll be ready for trick-or-treating, haunted houses, and everything this spooky season has to offer. Whether you're getting festive for the holidays or just looking for unique, high-quality designs to up your style game, ZJZDesigns.com has you covered. Shop now at ZJZDesigns.com and discover the t-shirts that'll make you stand out in any season. Don't get caught without the coolest Halloween t-shirt. Grab yours before they disappear. ZJZDesigns.com.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 271. I am Barrett Gruber. We're going to have Luke Basso here on the podcast in just a second, returning from his trips abroad, where he is going to tell us all about. We're going to get a follow-up on everything that he has gotten to do since March. Also, he is the host of Filmperia. I'm saying that right, Luke?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Sometimes I don't say words right. Last night I had a hard time with ordering wings because I said hot honey or honey hot, whatever. I reversed it. And then I caught grief from everyone at the table.
I do it all the time. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, well, so it's not an age thing. It's not my dementia.
No. I do it all the time. And I mean it like all the time.
All right, please subscribe and share the show. That's how we get new listeners. Also, if you could, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting members.theallaboutnothing.com and becoming an official member. Proudly calling yourself a true nothinger. We'll have more details on that at the end of the show. If you can't do that, please give us a 5-star review, a like, and follow us across all social media. You can find links at theallaboutnothing.com. Also, I want to tell everybody at the top of our webpage right now, if you can, there's a link there that says to go give us a review on Facebook. We would really appreciate that. All the reviews really help to build us higher up in this social media podcast community. And we've got a few good ones out there. I know because I probably wrote them, but we'd like some more. That would be wonderful. Also want to tell everybody coming up on September 10th, new Soul House sessions. This time it is with conversation with Amethyst Gonaway and art by Dogon Kriega. Vinyl, of course, being spun by Priest Jacobs, but this is another conversation with Priest Jacobs at the Koger Center for the Arts, University of South Carolina's Koger Center for the Arts. Tickets available now. You can check the show links for those. I think there's only a few tickets left, so you're going to want to jump on this. The more of these that get sold out, the more sessions that Preach gets to do there, and they're fantastic. The last one that they had with Nikki Finney was absolutely phenomenal, and loved talking to her, listening to her and Preach speak. It's a fantastic conversation. We are going to be releasing that on the Preach Jacobs podcast coming up very soon as well. We're going to do a release of that on the All About Nothing podcast, so you have that to look forward to as well. All right, we're going to get into it. Welcome back to the show, Luke Basso. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I am. Well, it's odd being the end of August, beginning of September. The temperatures have cooled down a little bit. It's one of those false impressions of what's to come this fall, because I know it's going to get warm again. I know we're going to jump right back into the heat of hurricane season. You live in Wilmington, so
yeah.
You guys are sort of like the armpit that kind of catches everything as it comes up the coast. But you haven't been home. So where have you been? What has been going on?
Okay, well, the main thing is back in July, I was in Afghanistan for 6 days, and that was the highlight of my summer, Afghanistan, and probably the highlight of my year, because I've been playing that for so long, and I say that as my most successful trip. Everything worked out. I came back alive, thankfully. That was my main concern. Was okay. It was like most trips, people are worried about, like, oh, is the transportation going to be okay? Is the hotels going to be okay? No, my main concern was, am I going to come back alive? Like every day, I was worried. Like, okay, this something could go wrong.
Was there a genuine concern for your
Yeah,
life?
I was more worried about ISIS-K than the Taliban. There was there's still a big threat over there. Well, not as big as I used to be, but I was still worried about them, that I needed protection.
Yeah.
When we went to certain locations.
Okay, so well, first let's just talk about the Filmperia. So you have a YouTube channel, Filmperia, links are in the show notes. That you interview, just to give everyone a recap. You talk and interview people that either were active in wars to get their stories, and it's fantastic. By the way, every time you release a new episode or a new episode to your channel, I go and watch it. I saw the one with your grandmother.
Oh, thank you.
She had the opportunity. She was in England, in Great Britain during the Blitz.
Yeah.
And like she got to tell her story about that. Did you know? I mean, I'm sure you knew prior to that, but were you surprised by some of the things that she told you during that interview?
I've heard these stories throughout all my life, but it was nice getting it all at one go, all at once, and it'll be there forever. And uh, like I said, I've said this multiple times. I'm glad to preserve all these stories for everyone to see. A lot of my family and her friends, they knew she was in World War II as a Blitz survivor, but they didn't really know the full story. And now a lot of people saw that, and they got to see what she went through during her childhood.
It's absolutely fantastic. You also sat down with a Hungarian civilian.
Yes. Yeah, and there's two parts to the interview. I need to get to the second part when I can. During World War II, he was living in Hungary, and then when he was a teenager, years later, he took part in the Hungarian Revolution, and I got to get to interviewing that one. So that was pretty cool. I got to hear both stories.
What you do is so cool. Like,
Thank you.
and everyone should absolutely go and watch. Again, Filmperia on YouTube. You also sat down with the mayor of Wilmington.
Mhm.
That was cool. That was sort of outside of the, I guess, the context of what you have
Yeah, it's
mostly
a little
on
different than what I do, but I have questions, but I want to hear from him, and he did an interview. He was very approachable. I like him a lot. He's helped me a lot too. He's given me a lot of people who I can get in touch with for my next trip for Ukraine, which I plan to go to late November. He's also giving me some
Goodness.
veteran contacts too. He's been very helpful. I like him a lot, and that's very nice for him to sit down to do an interview about local issues. This is a little different than what I do, but I had a few other elected officials on my channels before. I had my congressman. I plan to have my sheriff on, my county sheriff on channel soon when he's available. I get he's so busy, but he's agreed to do it. And when him and I run into each other, the first thing he says is, "Luke, I promise we'll do the interview. I'm so busy right now, but don't worry, I'm not forgotten about you."
Yeah, no, I get that because we have politicians and sheriffs and stuff like that um, I get emails from people that want to be on the show, and it is so sometimes it's the immediate interest is they want to come on the show, which is fantastic,
That's
and I
pretty
love
cool.
that. And it's to me it's still weird, sort of at this stage. I've been doing this now for almost 9 years, or we're going to be moving into the 9th season of this podcast. So it's still crazy to me that there are people that reach out to us that want to be on the show, and it's difficult for me to understand why. It's me and Zach. Zach does goofy impressions, and I give boisterous opinions on politics that don't necessarily really line up with everybody else. But I don't know. It's just interesting to get that sort of feedback, and the fact that you are now building something. We'll be competing with the media empire, the Basso media empire here at some point. It's coming. So tell us about Afghanistan. So from the beginning to arriving back home, because we couldn't give any details when you were on last. The only thing I knew is you were going to Afghanistan and that you were going to be the attempt or the plan was to speak with leaders of the Taliban. There's a couple of them that you said that you were going to try and get in interviews with. So how did all of this happen? How did it all go
So
down?
we gotta start from a year and a half ago. I'm friends
Okay.
with this YouTuber named Lord Miles. What happened with him a long time ago? He's been to Afghanistan in and out before, during, and after the Taliban takeover. So he got to see what it was like from all three perspectives.
Yeah.
He was there during the fall of Kabul, actually, and he wrote a book about that. It's over there. He actually got the Taliban to sign it, actually.
Wow. That's great.
And then, so what happened was, after the Taliban took over, he went back to Afghanistan. He's been other places too. He was there day one when the Ukraine war happened. He's been to, I think, a few
So
African countries, and
You're
he
talking
doesn't.
like 2001.
No, 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 no,
2001. Oh, when
no.
you
He was
said
no. He was when the Taliban took over in 2021.
okay. So okay. Sorry, I was thinking.
He's only a few years older than me.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay.
No, but he was there when day one when the Ukraine war happened in February 2022. He was there when the Taliban took over in 2021. But what happened was he went back to Afghanistan after the Taliban took over. He went to a gold mine, and they thought he was a spy. They thought he was MI6. They arrested him. They realized he wasn't after, and so they put him in house arrest. And then they became friends with him after because they realized he's a big YouTuber and he does all this kind of stuff. And they realized, like, okay, well, I think you froze. Hold on, I didn't freeze. They realized he's not a threat, but he still committed a crime. You can't go to a gold mine without a permit. So they had to give him some sort of punishment, put him in house arrest. They became friends with him, and they said, well, if you want to come back to Afghanistan and make more videos, let us know. You're welcome to come back here. You're not a soldier or spy. You're not a threat. We're cool with you. And he's been doing that. He's been doing that frequently since then. He's done some business there. He does some videos there, and he goes in and out there a lot. Right now, he's in Saudi Arabia, doing a live stream for 40 days.
Goodness. And he's just a couple years older than you.
Yeah.
What have I been doing with my life? Sorry. It's the reflections that hurt the most. All right. So you have this contact. He
Yes.
is a YouTuber. He goes over. He's going to Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Saudi Arabia, and he's not doing the same thing you're doing.
No. He just does videos, really, not really interviews. He's done a few interviews with people. Like some he's interviewed a few Taliban guys, but it's not like what I'm doing, really.
Yeah.
They're just in the videos doing generalized interviews about other topics. But what happened was he did a post saying, "Oh, I'm going to give out tours of Afghanistan, and if anyone wants to come along, let me know. We can organize it." And I thought, like, at first I'm like, well, that'd be cool, but that's never going to happen. Me go to Afghanistan? No, that's not worth it. So then I asked a few people, I'm like, maybe if I'll go with someone, or at least a few people. I approached a few people. All of them said, "No, Luke, you're crazy. I'd never go to that country." I'm like, fair enough. So then I found this other guy. He said he'd go with me. And first he was committed, and then he wasn't. And I found out later why. It was just I get he's busy with other stuff in life, and he doesn't really want to go there. More looking into it, and he's a combat veteran. So I felt safe with him originally because he's a combat veteran, and he's a fan of Lord Miles. But he got busy with other stuff in real life, and I don't think he'd wanted to take the full risk going to Afghanistan. But at that point, I was already committed, and I'm like, okay, I don't have him anymore. It'll just be Miles and maybe some other people who will be on the trip with us who want the tour guide. Everyone ended up bailing out except for me over the span of like 11 months. So I'm thinking, well, I guess I'm going alone then. All right, then. We'll see how this goes. So that was pretty stressful. Just playing it out. How do I say this? It worked out the end because I'd rather be alone. Because when it's just Miles and I, we had free will. We can do whatever we want whenever we want.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a tour at that point. It was just like, Luke, we can do whatever you want now. And
you'd get a hint of something available, and then you could act on that without having to organize the entire group to go do something. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that 100%.
It was just Miles and I the entire time. He said, Luke, you can do whatever you want whenever you want. So I'm like, great. But I'll get that later. So what happened was you can't fly to Afghanistan directly. You have to, well, my mom went with me to the UAE. But she had fun in Dubai. I was in Afghanistan, but if anything happened to me, she was only a few hours away. If I needed to like get back, if I got sick or if I got even like shot, even I would be a few hours away. I can get flown back to the UAE. But the only country to recognize the Taliban government is Russia, and that's why there's a few other countries that have embassies for Afghanistan, such as one being the UAE and a few other countries surrounding it. But the options were like go through Pakistan or the other, like like the Stan countries like Turkmenistan, Tajikistan.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with those countries, so like I'd rather go to the embassy in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE than the other countries. I don't know the exact countries that have embassies with Afghanistan, like the other Stan countries, but Dubai is the UAE is the most westernized, the most safe out of all of them. So like, okay, I'll go there, and Miles will meet me there. So we met him in Dubai. Then we would travel to Abu Dhabi. Now, usually it takes time to get these passports, not these passports, these visas.
Visas, yeah.
It takes time to get them. But no, because everyone at the embassy knows who Miles is, I got mine like the next day.
Okay.
Everyone knows who he is. We walked in. They're like, "Oh, Miles, good to see you. Miles, I saw you on the news recently. Miles, your new video is great. Ha ha ha." They all loved him. So I knew I wouldn't have a problem if I stuck with him the entire time. Um,
Well, let me just say, what an interesting reaction, because Miles is from the United States.
No, he's
correct?
British.
He's British. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but being a Westerner, because Great Britain and
he's white. Yeah, he's white.
Yeah.
And he's a white British Christian.
being a Westerner in what is basically Arab, Persian, these are countries that don't necessarily always look fondly on Westerners, but you get these hints that's celebrity status, that sense of popularity sort of gains that notoriety, and they become, because ultimately a background check on Miles or on you should be very simple to do. They really, all they have to do is just look at your YouTube page. You have years of videos where you've spoken to veterans, but it's pretty easy to get that information. So you guys walk in to get your visas. Very simple, because Miles has this halo around him that grants him a little bit special access.
Because he goes in and out of that country all the time. So
Yeah.
they're used to him. He goes through usually the UAE to do this. I want to go back a little bit, because I make it sound like planning this trip is cut and dry, as it was not. Because, like I said, that so many people bailed out on it, and it's not like, oh, well, let's go to France or England, or let's go to the Bahamas or
Yeah.
Japan or something. No, it's Afghanistan. It's the only country that recognized them is Russia, and that happened while I was there. So before then, no one recognized them except for a few places at embassies, which does not mean they recognize them. It just means they have some relations with them.
Yeah.
A few things, what got in the way of this was, right before the trip happened, Pakistan and India had a conflict, and then Israel and Iran had a conflict, and this was not too far apart. And Miles jokes like, "Oh, if a war happens while we're there, you're gonna get all your money back. Trust me, you get a full refund on everything." So,
Well, look at the positives.
yeah, I guess look at the positives. but I was worried that this trip might be canceled because of conflicts in the Middle East, or
Yeah.
if the conflicts were to spread to Afghanistan, because Iran is bordering Afghanistan, and Pakistan is bordering Afghanistan. So I was extremely worried. And then I heard rumors about like, oh, if this escalates, Afghanistan might have to get involved just to defend the border, like they might need to secure the borders or something like that. So, and what if like a missile accidentally hits on the Afghanistan border, and how Pakistan and Afghanistan don't get along, and something, and there's some tension with Iran and Afghanistan, what goes in and out. So, I didn't know how it would go, but I kept this a secret for a long time because I knew how people would react. But if I didn't tell people till very last second. So you're one of the people who knew before most people. There's a lot of veterans and government officials who I'm close with. I didn't tell until right before I got there, because I knew they would try to intervene and stop me, which happened. I'm part of this veteran luncheon I attend every month, and I told them I'm going to Afghanistan, and they tried directly intervening some of these people.
Interesting.
Because they didn't think I was ready to go there. They didn't think I was. They thought I was going to die. And I'm like, no, I planned this out for 11 months. I'm going to be fine. They're like, no, Luke, you will die. And one of my friends said, oh, Luke, if you die there, I'm not going to go to your funeral. I warned you. I'm like, what? I'm not. I didn't. People think I'm randomly going to Afghanistan. No, this took 11 months of planning. I know what I'm getting into, and it.
I understand the concern for your life, but the retaliatory part of it, if you die overseas in a foreign country, not necessarily where the government's recognized by our country, I'm not going to attend
I'll
your
clarify,
funeral.
that wasn't one of the veteran friends that said that. That's a different
No.
friend
I
that
didn't
said that,
imagine
but
so. Yeah, but still, just what a ridiculous retaliation to. Well, first of all, don't put that in the universe. There's no reason to think. I mean, yes, I understand there's a
yeah,
safety concern.
like I said, my main concern was ISIS-K, not the Taliban. And people weren't worried about the Taliban. It was like they will kill you. I'm like, well, listen. You, when you're over there, you realize quickly what to say and not say around these guys.
Sure.
Okay. It's not like I'm gonna be like pro America when I go over there and go like
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
You're not wearing your American flag
right.
suit.
Right. I wore what they wore. I was respectful to their culture. They treated me with respect. Okay. If you show them respect, they'll show you respect back. The war is over, and I still acknowledge all the horrible things the Taliban has done. But
Sure.
this is journalism, and this is what I want to do. And if you want to do it right, you got to say certain things and not say certain things. You got to do it the right way. You can't. Um, you have to be smart. You can't be stupid. You got to think twice about certain stuff you do there. And people think that if you're an American, you're going to instantly die there. I'm like, no, that's not true. Like,
Yeah. No. And it's. I guess it's interesting because we have reporters for all of the major news networks. They're on the ground in Ukraine right now. They are in Moscow. And Russia is certainly not acting like a friend to the United States or most of the countries around it. But you go to visit Russia, then you ultimately, if you want what you need, you're going to respect it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to come in there and immediately start a protest in the square to against the government. That's not what you
yeah,
do as a visitor.
people will be like, so why don't you confront the Taliban about X topics? I'm like, well, you can't really because
Gun to
like,
my head, I'm not gonna.
and you have to ease into it because there were topics I talked to them about when I got to know them. I don't say the first thing to them and go like, oh, I can't believe you did this or why did you have to ease into it. I'd ask them about women's rights there, and I got mixed results there. I asked them how they felt about the Americans. I got mixed results there too. I asked them how they
Yeah.
felt about just the wars and how Afghanistan has been like for the last 40 years, and I got mixed results then. You got to ease into it. You can't just approach it head on. Uh, they're the ones that control. You're not. You got to play. You have to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So you're in Afghanistan at this point. No, or I guess where are we at this point?
So on the very next day after I got my visa, I flew into Afghanistan with Miles. And here's the thing, because I was the only person on that tour. Now we had a lot of free will, and it seemed like he was going back there anyway, whether they would give a tour or not. It seemed like he had stuff to do there, which is why I'd say about not all the time, but throughout the trip, he was doing his own thing while I did my own thing. While he left me out with Manir, who was our tour guide, because Miles organized it and he stayed with us. But the guy who actually gave the tour and helped me around was my friend Manir. He was a translator for the British Army, um, and while they were in Afghanistan years ago, his dad was a general for the Northern Alliance. He's retired now, and I trusted him a lot because he made sure everything ran smoothly. Miles organized it, and he did the tours too, but Manir led the tours.
And he's in a and even though he was an interpreter and whatnot for the Western military that was in the country, Afghanistan, he still garnered enough respect that because Hollywood has made movies literally about the interpreters that have been their families have been used as pawns to draw them out to that they murdered people that helped the Americans in Afghanistan. The Taliban did. So your interpreter, I guess he's that isn't a fear that he has.
That surprised me. After the war, the British tried to have him flee to the UK, and he was like, "No, I'm staying in Afghanistan, live here all my life, and I'm not going." He ended up being fine. He didn't commit any crimes. He didn't do anything too serious. So they didn't punish him. And there are a lot of other people who collaborated with the old government and with the NATO forces who weren't punished because they couldn't punish everyone. So they forgave a lot of them, and some of
Okay.
them some of them did um, what they would call crimes, Taliban. Some of them didn't, and I don't think Munir did anything illegal. He just translated. He was just a generalized translator for the British Army. He didn't actively do anything
Yeah.
against the Taliban.
And ultimately, during a war, there is virtually no real economy that's going on. The only way that some people can make money if they happen to speak English or can interpret, then that's the job that they take. And I don't think from the Americans' perspective, we see these people. I do. I see these people as heroes to what basically made our attempt at westernizing Afghanistan that made it more feasible, because if you don't have people on the ground that know the people, that know the communities, that know the language, that know how to get around, then if you can't operate completely off of, satellite maps and things like that. You have to have that knowledge of where you're at, and it's happened for even 1782, 83, when the British were trying to force the American colonies to remain under British rule. They had Tories that were sympathizers to the British that helped with the knowledge of the lands and the people and the communities and things like that, and basically worked as semi-interpreters for the British to the United States. So you had people that could that ultimately, after the war was over, we didn't. I don't think in most cases, except for maybe like spies and things like that, but we didn't immediately kill them or sentence them to death because they live in America. They live in the United States. So they are, anyway, yeah, it's a situation of necessity. So
Well, and also too, which surprised me too, how his dad was a general for the old government, and nothing bad happened to him.
okay, yeah, I think that just points out the fact that in every conflict we are all still humans. We're still made up of the same carbon. That we all have the same hearts that beat, and I'm not sympathizing with the Taliban or with ISIS or anything like that.
We can look at any war. We can look at World
Yeah,
War II or Vietnam. How there's a lot of after World War II, a lot of Nazi generals ended up helping us in the Cold War.
NASA would not be a thing if not for the scientists that ultimately the United States paid to move here to basically push us further in the space race. The genius of rockets and jet propulsion and things like that. A lot of it came from Germany post World War II. So you can't deny the benefits the United States has made. So anyway, that's my congratulations. That's my diatribe for this episode. So, excuse me, I'm chewing ice. I apologize. Okay. So you're in Afghanistan. What is the main mission that
So
you have?
my main mission is I want to interview Mujahideen fighters. Mujahideen was a group that fought the Soviets um, when when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan
Yeah.
uh, about 40 years ago, and I wanted to interview a lot of old Afghans who fought the Russians. Those are the only ways I can find them. Who are in Afghanistan. These people, they're not. You can't really uh, Zoom call these people or find these
Yeah.
people in the United States. A lot of them, a lot of the ones who were Mujahideen, they're not technology. They don't know how technology works, and a lot of them don't
We're
speak English
talking
either. A lot of them
yeah,
don't
we're
know how to
talking about farmers and
yeah,
sheep herders
a lot
and
of them don't speak English too, and the only way I can find these guys was, in Afghanistan itself.
yeah.
So, that's the only way you can really do is going there. Yeah, there's some technology in Afghanistan, but outside of the capital, there's really nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hundreds of years behind in society for hundreds of miles. It was hundreds of miles of just deserts and mountains, and yes, I had limited technology and limited Western stuff in Kabul itself, but outside of there, it's pretty much nothing.
It's amazing for a region that gave us mathematics and algebra, physics. Like this is an area of people that, if not for the recognizing and the invention of some of the things that we use as fundamental. I mean, computers would not be a thing if not for thousands of years ago, someone coming up with algebra and trigonometry and things like that. This is, and at some point, I guess, either because of outside influence or internal influence, they sort of made the decision that they would not move forward with a lot of that. I'm guessing it probably had a lot to do with external influence. Just I have to imagine. So anyway, sorry. So you're looking for
Well, to go back on your question of my goals there. So, yes, interview the Mujahideen. A lot of them ended up becoming Taliban. Another reason too is I potentially want to be a correspondent when I'm older, and I'd rather find out now than later. I'd rather either something I want to do, like going to whatever, depending on what list you look at. Afghanistan is like either the first, second, or third most dangerous country in the world, and this is what reporters are doing every single day. And I'd rather find out now than later that if this is something I really want to do, because I do plan to go to Ukraine in the future, and this is I don't want to say a stepping stone, but this will prepare me a lot of what I could be doing for the next 30 to 40 years of my life.
I don't even think it's a stepping stone. This is a huge boulder that you have. 'Cause it's not something that I have on my radar as something that I've even thought that I wanted to do. So you have climbed a mountain to do what I don't think others even think about as something. Like I love interviewing interesting people and talking about things that are interesting from the perspective of what I think listeners or the audience is going to enjoy. But going to Afghanistan and sitting down with someone who literally held probably an AK-47 in their hands to try and fight off the Soviet invasion of their country it's never occurred to me as a thing to do. And the fact that you have that passion, I think is incredible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Those are stories that have to get told. Like otherwise they're going to be lost. When these people are no longer with us, these stories of what they did and the success that they had in keeping the Russian or the Soviets out.
There's very few interviews with these people
Yeah.
all over YouTube. There's very few of them. You can find, even for just the last war, when NATO was there, there's very few Taliban interviews online you can really find. There's so many American and British interviews you can find about the war, but very few from the other side. And
Yeah.
that goes for all wars. It's hard to find German World War II interviews. It's hard to find Japanese World War II interviews. You can maybe find a few Viet Cong and NVA interviews, but it's mostly the Western interviews you can find from all wars. And I've said this before. I want to get the other side on my channel. I've had a KGB guy on my channel, and I used to know a Hitler Youth member. She died though. I wasn't able to interview her. Plus, she had memory problems. I didn't want to put a camera in her face. But other than that, I can't really think of other people I knew who were on the other side who I would willing to spend time and talk with me. Um, so listen, it's history. Doesn't mean I agree with these people. I just want to hear what they have to say. And a lot of people don't realize that I've had a lot of people who are upset with me that I went over there and uh, interviewed these people. They're like, "Why would you give these people a voice?" I'm like, "Well, it's history. It actually happened. We have to hear what all sides have to say, no matter what it is. Does not mean
Yeah.
you agree with them. It's journalism."
Totally agree. That's one of the reasons why I extend offers to people that have different opinions than me on politics, is because I want it's not necessarily that I'm just some will say that I'm giving them a medium to express their voice, and I'd say, well, I think that when it comes to history, because everything we record and put out there is going to be out there forever. I mean, unless somehow Google shuts down for some reason and YouTube no longer exists, or the podcast sphere somehow dissolves or whatever, that is, there otherwise, there will always be a record of these things. And I think it's important for people to hear what everyone's perspective is so that you can have a valued opinion on what your perspective is. So kudos to what you're doing, because
Thank you.
I keep saying it. I am so impressed at the age of, what, are you 20 yet? Okay. Congratulations, you're 20. But okay. So to continue, were you able to get any interviews?
Yes, I
with?
did. I'll get to that because the first
Okay.
day was just settling in. I didn't know too much about. I knew the place we were going. I knew I was gonna get some tours of some historic locations, and I told them I want to see some old Soviet tanks and vehicles that are destroyed. They're like, "Oh, we know how to find those. We can make that happen, Luke." And anything else you'd like? I'm like, "Well, I like to interview some Mujahideen guys who maybe even Taliban if possible." But yeah, we can make that happen. Anything else? And I'm like, well, if there's any other things locations you want to take me, feel free to. So without those people who were supposed to come with originally, it was supposed to be like an organized tour with a few cars. But no, it was just me, Miles, my tour guide, driver, and sometimes Taliban guards, just for safety reasons.
Yeah.
So anyway, the first day we got there, it felt like a fever dream. So we flew into Kabul airport. It is I was just in disbelief, just that there's I don't know how to describe that place. It's amazing that place still runs. What I mean by that,
Shambles. Is it
yeah, yeah,
basically in?
yeah, yeah, yes. And there's some aircraft there that they're using that's 30, 40 years old that's somehow still operating. I heard people on the plane tell me, I think it was afterwards, because the plane I took in was wait, no, I'm mixing that up. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused now. Okay. Anyway, so Kabul. Okay, I'll jump around. So we went from the Kabul airport. We met people who were waiting for us at the airport. When Miles was with me, and the people waiting for us was Aladdin, who was a Taliban member, and our tour guide Munir, and they're waiting for us. Now I knew who Aladdin was beforehand. So what happened was there was Aladdin and Muhammad, and they were supposed to protect me in Afghanistan. What happened was Aladdin's uncle was murdered by Muhammad. So then Muhammad kills Aladdin, and then Aladdin goes to prison for murder, and then he's scheduled to be executed for that. He gets released right before I go there by the director of foreign intelligence to protect me because they want to protect the Westerner, which is me there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well it's gonna be this guy. You're supposed to do it, so get out. So they release him, and they're gonna have him flee to a different country instead of executing him. So this is the guy protecting me, and I already knew about him. Already knew about him beforehand, but I actually got to see him in person. In fact, Muhammad signed the book that Miles gave me. He signed it with some other Taliban guys, but that was signed before I got there. That was like a few months beforehand when Miles mailed me the book after the Taliban signed it. He signed it. So I remember I looked back in the book, I opened it, and it was just really eerie seeing Muhammad's signature, knowing that he died before I got there, and he was supposed to protect me.
That's crazy. I mean, and again, like I said, this is something that's not on my radar. I wouldn't think that this was something I want to do. The amount, the fact that you even need protection to visit a place because you're a Westerner it still strikes me as being, it's a checklist item. Make sure I have protection, sunscreen,
Well, that was another concern
toothbrush,
too. Besides the
toothpaste.
two conflicts I had beforehand, I was so worried that okay, my first bodyguard is dead, the other one's in prison now. Who can protect me? And someone brought the point, it's like, oh, just bring a pistol, you'll be fine. I'm like, that's not going to help me. We need AKs for this. We can't use pistols. These are the guys with AKs who are going to help us if ISK tries to do anything to us.
Were you in a constant state of anxiety about, were you always looking, past the people in front of you or looking over your shoulder?
At
Just,
first, a little bit, because the first day was a fever dream because the place we stayed at was a compound of the director of foreign intelligence, one of the most powerful men in Afghanistan. We stayed at his compound.
it has compound in it. That there's a sense of military
Yeah,
necessity.
his guarded compound. We stayed there, and I met him twice. We had a late dinner with him that night, and then the next morning, I talked to him for about 20 minutes. He went to an interview. He's trying to keep a low what's it called, a low profile.
Yeah.
But it was cool to, I shouldn't say cool, but it's interesting. I got to talk to this guy, one of the most powerful men in that country.
Well,
I wish,
let me ask you this too. So obviously, there's no McDonald's. There's not. I don't know what.
yeah, it's a question what I ate.
Yeah,
Bread
yeah,
and rice and meat on sticks. I think they're called kebabs. Is that what they're called?
yeah. Kebabs.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So that was pretty much your diet.
Yeah, most of the time. Sometimes there'll be a few restaurants in Kabul we would eat at, but other than that, it was just bread and rice every day, really.
If you're gonna submerge yourself in the culture, it's a necessity too. Okay, I'm still just in awe. So
So yeah, we drive to the compound, and there's guards with AKs and M16 standing outside. Um, and we go in there, and I meet all the Taliban guys who are staying with us, and they're like, "Oh, Luke, this is your room. You get your own room. You can stay here." I'm like, "My own room for me? This is great," because I thought it was going to be like all packed in one place, but it's like, no, this is your room. You can do whatever you want here. Just you sleep here. We'll sleep in the other places. So it was a mix of it was a I felt a little protected because I know no one's going to mess with these people. No one will mess with the director of foreign intelligence of Afghanistan. No one would. So I felt a little safe. Yeah, yes. If you look him up, you can see some of the horrendous things what has been done by these people. Um, but I felt a mix of anxiety and safe and feeling safe too because I'm like, okay, well, nothing's going to happen to me because he even told me he's like, if anyone has an issue with you, let me know, I'll deal with it because
wow,
what he's trying to do. I get his perspective. He wants to bring tourists to Afghanistan and he wants his country to open up even
yeah,
though he doesn't have even though he's not that high position to open up tourism. He's trying to he wants to give tourists the best treatment possible to make sure um, they either come back or they have a good experience.
yeah.
And I get why he's doing that. Why he want to make me feel comfortable and safe, which he did a good job. He got me food, water, toilet paper, stuff like that. They would provide the stuff for me if I needed it.
When you're at the compound and you see him, are there any situations where you two are passing in the hallway, like on the way to dinner, you're going to the bathroom and
Well,
he's
what
leaving?
happened? Well, how I met him was it was after that long day of getting clothes, cheating money, getting a feel of Afghanistan, going to some stores, eating food there just to get used to it, and going to some locations. It was about 10 at night, and I was about to go to bed, and I was in my pajamas, and I just brought my clothes from Afghanistan. I was going to have them washed, which I get to later. Well, I was only able to. I wore the same two clothes in Afghanistan the entire time because it was hard to get them washed. So I had my Dubai clothes and my pajamas on, my pajamas, and my Dubai clothes next to me. Miles comes in. He's like, "The director's here. Do you want to say hi to him? You want to meet him?" I'm like, "Right now?" He's like, "Yeah, right now." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll say hi, sure." So I put on my Dubai clothes, the clothes I buy in Dubai, and because I was gonna get the other stuff washed. I walk in and he's there sitting with a bunch of guys all surrounded um, on on a carpet with a bunch of food on it with plates and some drinks. He meets me and he's like, "Oh, you're the tourist. It's good to meet you. He says his name, and he's trying to be low profile, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
respect
of course.
his wishes. But anyway, there's about like 6 or 7 of us. Most of them are Taliban. There's me and Miles. Um, at first, I just wanted to meet him and talk with him a bit. Then I wanted to go to bed, but he insisted I stay. So I stayed for 3 hours, just hearing them all talk about whatever. Half it wasn't even English. But he asked me questions about just what America was like and just what Western culture is like. He would ask me, he's like, "So, Luke, are you married?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, Luke, how old are you?" I'm like, "I'm 20." He's like, "Oh, Luke, are you, um, what are you doing in life?" I'm like, "Well, I go to college. I make YouTube videos and all that." He's like, "Okay, okay." He just wanted to see like who I was beforehand.
Yeah,
And from what I heard, that he treats other tourists, how do I word this? I don't know. Like he treated me better than most tourists who were there. He treats tourists well, but from what I gathered, he treated me better than other tourists who've been there before. Probably because I was younger or something I don't know. I think I was one of the younger ones he met, and he was just more curious of me because he knew he's like, "Wait, Luke, what race are you? Are you Asian?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Filipino." He's like, "Oh, cool, cool, cool." And then he asked me, "So what religion are you?" Thinking, do I tell him this? And Miles said, "Oh, I'm Christian." I said, "Oh yeah, I'm also Christian." He's like, "Oh, cool." I'm like, "Okay, he's tolerant of other religions. That's good to know. He's nothing bad will happen. Okay, he's tolerant of Christianity. Okay." Um, I forgot other questions he asked me, but he asked me a lot of questions about my life in the U.S. And I don't know if it was a tactic of him to gather intelligence of me, or or if he's actually curious. But I get he wants to know who was staying at his compound
Yeah.
because I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because you're staying in his compound, and you are a guest to him. So I have to imagine that it wasn't just I think it was a combination potentially of genuine curiosity about you, and and then maybe he's not in his position because he's related. It's probably not nepotism that he's part in his position. It could be, but it's probably not. But he's doing his job as gathering intelligence. But I think
I wasn't worried about him. He
yeah.
was just he would say stuff about how he wants to more tourists in Afghanistan, and he wants to open up gold mines and have a source of income in the country. He would talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, he cares about the country he is from. I think I think that's respectable.
So listen, I appreciate he treated me well, but it doesn't mean I agree with this guy what he's done.
Sure, agreed.
I looked
Completely
up so
agree.
many things about this guy, and he's yeah, he's done some pretty bad stuff. Yeah, but I'm glad that nothing bad happened to me, and he treated me very well. Especially, I'm the only guy in the room without a gun, except for Miles and me, and everyone else has AKs or M16s or pistols and all
I was
that.
gonna say they're all displayed, right?
Yeah, they're all displayed. They're all holding it with their backs, or they're holding it while they're eating food. So, I'm, and then halfway through, I'm like, can I go to bed? I'm getting hungry. He's like, no, 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 no. Get him some food and some water. And so I'm like, okay, well, he's insisting I stay. I'm not gonna rebel against this guy.
right.
I'm gonna wait till he's done and go to bed. And even Miles is like, oh, he's tired. Let him go to bed. Okay, it's midnight now, or 1 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. He's like, okay, Luke, good meeting you. Then I ran into him the next day because we were gonna go somewhere. Then I was getting my stuff, and I'm like, oh, hey. And he's like, oh, Luke, good to see you. How are you? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I was just here to get my stuff. He's like, no, Luke, let's chat, let's chat, let's chat. So we talked or whatever. He actually looked at the postcards.
Yeah, I got my postcard. So
Now, what did I say? I don't remember what I said. I said,
there were no state secrets that were given away. You didn't give away your position or anything. You sent me a postcard. You said, Barrett, this trip was a huge success. I got some great interviews and was shown a lot of respect from the people that found out that I am an American. So that was all you said on it.
okay, so that was probably one of the later postcards because I remember throughout the trip when I had free time, I would just start writing them. So
yeah.
I don't think he looked at yours. But I know he looked at his.
You mean I can't get his DNA off of this? That's no. But I understand that
He
there's
was looking through them to see what I was like writing, which I get why he was doing that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't have to agree with his policies or his politics to understand to recognize that he still has to protect himself, not only from Westerners like us, but even from people within his own country that would potentially seek to take him out of his position, or to So I have to imagine he is also under constant threat. He lives in a compound,
which is why he wouldn't do an interview. He's trying to lay a low profile.
right?
Which I wish that would have probably gone viral if I got this guy to talk in an interview.
That would have been good, but I certainly understand his concerns, and I you're already putting yourself at pretty serious risk anyway. So let's not take advantage too much.
I don't want to ask for too much because he's already letting me stay at his compound, and he's already giving me food and water. So I can't ask for too much, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, please let me. And I don't want no. Anyway, I was able to get some good interviews later on. So, but throughout the trip, it was just sightseeing, finding people to interview, and just going to some locations and seeing what Afghan culture and what the country's like, and just learning about Afghanistan and their point of view. Now, the people I interviewed, so I got 2 good interviews. It was supposed to be 3. We were supposed to interview Aladdin, and then halfway through, he wanted money, and we're like, "No, we're not paying you for an interview." So
wow,
we just
you
dropped
can't
that.
blame him for asking, though.
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I'll do the rest of it, but you got to pay me." So I'm like, "Okay, we're not going to pay you to do an interview now." So, and we're like, "Okay, we'll get other people instead." So the people we got I don't know how to pronounce their names. I'll just tell you what they did. So there's one guy we drove to Jalalabad to meet him, which is I think 6 hours away. We drove on the Kabul Jalalabad road to meet this guy, and that's one of the most dangerous roads in the world. It's on a cliff, most of it, and there's always boulders falling down and rocks crashing, car crashes happening, and people just dying all the time. It's super dangerous there, and it used to be way worse in the war because there's always helicopters getting shot down every, like, hour. There's
Yeah.
always artillery firing on the hill. There's always, snipers and rockets going off, IEDs, ambushes, and, more car crashes from just it used to be way worse, but it was pretty dangerous going on. I felt pretty anxious going there because it's literally on a cliff, 1/3 of the size of Mount Everest, and we're just, there's nothing protecting you from falling. There's no rules of the road in Afghanistan either. There's so many cars, there's so many it was pure chaos.
Drive on the
And
left or the right?
that I don't
Just
remember.
wherever.
Yeah, I don't
Wherever there's space.
no, I don't say where I don't remember. That was such a small detail. I didn't I was that was the last thing I was, like,
Yeah, that's fair.
looking at.
That's fair.
But,
I've traveled to Mexico, and while I think that they drive on the same side of the roads as us, I'm not entirely certain
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure there were times where we were on the opposite side of the road as traffic's coming on our right. So yeah, I get
anyway,
it.
that place, it's like 2 lanes, and there's, like it's just cars swerving all over the place, and I even asked them, I'm like, "Are we gonna be okay? Are we gonna die?" They're like, probably not, we'll see." So I'm like, "Okay, well, it's like, okay."
70-30. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Well, yeah, we'll be okay."
If we have an accident, just hope for death. Just
Yeah,
because the
that's all.
hospital's not
Well,
close.
it was just constant driving on there, and then the rest of it was, like, desert or mountains. So anyway, we meet this guy in Jalalabad, and, he's this older Afghan who fought in the Soviet-Afghan War and later became Taliban, and he used to know Osama bin Laden personally, and, what happened was I gave him topics to talk about. He didn't speak English, so I said, "Munir, here's a list of topics, talk to him about this kind of stuff," and then afterwards, I'll have the interviews translated, which I haven't got to yet. I'm I'm relying on Miles to help me translate them, but he's busy right now.
Is
But
this
so
a situation where you're like so you've written down or you've given all these topics, you have given them to your interpreter
yes,
to
I'm sitting next to him, and they're communicating to
okay.
each other, and
So
I and
you're
I'm
in the
recording.
room.
Yes, mhm,
Okay.
yes, and he's talking, and I hear key words. I'll hear like blah 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 blah, Osama bin Laden, blah 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 blah, boom boom boom, pew pew pew, like stuff like that. I would hear like
Yeah.
I can tell what some of the stuff they're talking about. So we got to interview him. And the next guy I interviewed was, the son of the leader of the Mujahideen, and, what happened was we, well, Nair said, "Luke, if I knew more in advance, if you want to interview these guys, I could have gotten maybe 7 of these guys to interview, but we only able to get 2." And it's hard to organize this kind of stuff just because of lack of technology, lack of communication, and lack of
Yeah.
understanding. Some of these guys don't even know what they don't understand what interviews are. It's an unfamiliar concept, putting a camera in their face and talking about their past.
Right.
So, how we got the second guy, because I think the first guy, he's been interviewed before, like, throughout the years of some I don't know, because he knew Bin Laden personally. The other guy, yeah, he was a son of the Mujahideen, but what I found interesting is, um when the war ended, he just went back to, like, I think, farming just the next day. It wasn't like he was like, "Oh, yeah, my dad was a big, powerful person, but, I just went back to, doing what I had to do before." They didn't see it as a they don't see how we see it.
It
But
was
anyway,
an
how we
it was an inconvenience to what their daily life
yeah.
was. Yeah.
So how we interviewed him is Meneer just said, "Oh, Luke, just say I'm your brother, from just say and that you're visiting from the U.S. and then we can ease into that." 'Cause we walked to his house. We didn't even tell him we're doing an interview. Meneer's like, "Oh, this is my brother from the U.S. and he wanted to come and say hi to you and meet you and because you're my friend." And then they would talk for a bit and then he brought the idea. It's like, "Oh, Luke also does videos in the U.S." And you're like, "Oh, really, really?" So that's how we ease into it. He didn't speak English. But he understood what was going on. So we same thing. I got Munir to talk to him, and we talked about certain topics. And no, that was cool that we were able to get those 2 people. I want to interview Munir sometime over Zoom. He said he'll do it. He's just not available right now. And I think a cool one to get. I want to get his dad sometime, who is a general for the old government, who over Zoom sometime. Most people don't have access to Zoom or any technology. These guys do. So that's why I'm probably able to get them. And they speak English too. And Munir is a transfer for the British Army, and I think I don't know where he's been educated, but um, if his dad's a general and he was transferred for the British Army, he has he's familiar with Western stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can interview him in the future. He said he would. Hopefully he keeps his word, both of them, and that'd be cool to hear what they got to say.
That's amazing. Well, in total, how much time did you actually spend in Afghanistan?
Only 6 days. It was 11 months to plan for 6 days.
Yeah, that's amazing. And to jam everything that you were able to accomplish
So it
into
was supposed to be 10 days, but it got cut short. We wanted to go to Tora Bora also, which is where Bin Laden, his compound's at, and I
yeah.
went and threw some people there. It didn't work out. They found spy malware in the area, so they shut off the place, and they wouldn't let anyone
Wow.
go in or out. So they said, "Come back in 2 days." Like, we're not available in 2 days. Like, well, you can't come here. So yeah, we weren't able to do that.
What was your mother's reaction when you got back to the UAE? Or she was in Dubai, right?
Yeah. So she was waiting for me, and she was so happy to see me. I was happy to see her. Um, but I remember I told her everything in the car. It was everything all at once, and that horrified her. Just like, I'm like, yeah. So we interviewed these people, and I met these people, and all this and that, and just I get it all at once after not seeing me for that amount of time. I
How
get that.
s- how soon after that did you break the news that you had plans to go into another uh, war torn / war zone?
Well, she has not been wanting to go to Ukraine for years since
Oh,
the war
okay.
started. When I was in high school, I wanted to go there.
Yeah. So that
That
is
wasn't that wasn't as much a surprise.
that's fair. Is I think still though having the desire to go, but the means to go uh, are what weighs. If my kids told me that they wanted to go to Japan, I'd be like, yeah, of course we can try and plan a trip to
But if
Japan.
you thought they said they want to go to Iraq or Syria,
Yeah,
how would you
yeah.
feel?
If they're like thinking about going to Belarus, we maybe let's discuss this a little bit. Let me call Luke, see if he's got some contacts, and see if we can work something
A lot of
out.
people think I randomly went there. No, it took 11 months of planning, and how I was able to fund this was, um, so what I used to do when I was 14 to 18, I had a mini business where I bought and sold mostly World War II antiques.
Okay.
I had a lot of that left over, when I used to do this in New York, and even so I sold a lot of that to fund this, and I also sold a lot of stuff from my private collection to make this trip possible. It wasn't just I randomly went there. This took a lot of money, timing, and planning, and organizing, despite Muhammad being killed, Aladdin being imprisoned, and two conflicts happening right before I got there.
Yeah. Well, I think what we need to do is we need to get your YouTube channel monetized so
Yeah.
that so that and we'll definitely do our small part that we can to try and get that to happen. But like
Thank you.
we get if you get monetized, then absolutely
Well, I can do this the rest of my life, and that's what I want. That's what I want to
Yeah.
do is do
Yeah.
stuff like this.
Independent reporting, I think, is where we get the most accurate and truthful
For sure.
information.
Yeah.
Regardless of the context or the perspective of it, I think that is the greatest opportunity to get what will then be recorded as history. And what you do with the world with the veterans from the world wars in Vietnam and Korea, and even the most recent, the modern wars. I think that what you're doing is extremely important, and I'm constantly impressed every time I get an alert that says you have a new video out there.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I make time to sit down, grab a drink,
I
and
appreciate it so much. Thank you.
they're so good, and I think that people should absolutely go and subscribe and turn on the notifications, because if you do, you'll know when they come out too, and you do such a good job. Like, and I get you've probably taken a few classes on this, but I think the experiences that you've gotten, like, you can see the progress from the first recordings up until, even your grandmother just, 3 weeks ago. It's, you see the progress of how you're doing it. What sort of equipment do you use for your recordings?
A tripod, my Canon camera. I don't know what.
Yeah.
And then the microphone. But what I use as Premium Pro, Adobe
Yeah, okay.
Premium Pro. That's what I use.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and I know you've got travels that you're planning and coming up. I think you said November.
Yeah,
Are we
hopefully the
allowed to?
last week in November. I'll be in Ukraine. That's the plan.
Okay. And is there any soft plans for exactly what it is and where you're going to go
Well,
in Ukraine?
I don't plan on going to the front lines. I don't think I'm ready
Sure.
for stuff like that. I'll be mostly in Kiev. I hope to be with my father, who'll take me. He'll make sure everything is more planned out,
Yeah.
and help me out with that. There's some special forces guys who said that they'll do some interviews when I'm over there. Hopefully, they keep their word on that. I get stuff changed every day with the war. Hopefully, they're not captured, killed, or wounded by the time I get there, or they're even available at that time just because shit happens. But
Yeah.
so far, they've agreed to do some interviews, and I've got some other people who said they'll consider it, because the war changes every single day. So I can't be committed to a few people. So I'm gonna have a list of people who are gonna try to do some interviews when I'm over there in advance.
Anything you got coming up even sooner than that?
Uh,
A lot of video
well,
editing, I
yeah, a
assume.
lot of right now I'm college started back up a few weeks ago, and it's boring as usual. So like
that college shit's holding you back, Luke.
it is, yeah.
But I'm ecstatic that you are at least getting some sort of a college experience. That's one of the things that people I didn't have the college experience because I didn't I didn't know what it was I wanted to do. I fell into the career I'm in, not necessarily podcasting, but software. I fell into that, almost 30 years ago, and it pays the bills. It pays for me to be able to do the podcasting, and that's ultimately what I need right now. Would we love to be monetized and that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. If I had more time to focus on it, then there'd be 5 or 6 more shorts published a day. But it's just, I have to sometimes find that motivation to do the things that I know I have to do. And I think that goes for a lot of creators that are putting out content is finding that motivation. But you seem to really you have the passion for that motivation, and that motivation then drives your content. So it's a really cool thing to watch, and I am so thankful that when we were sitting at our table in Wilmington, North Carolina, and you came and talked to us, because ultimately I have enjoyed everything you've done and getting to know you, and uh, you know your safety is important to me, but get that story.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being so supportive. I've had a lot of mixed results of going to Afghanistan. Most of them been pretty positive, but I get a lot of people who are not familiar with this kind of stuff. They're horrified, or they think I'm pro-Taliban now, which is ridiculous. It's um,
Eh, and
I had a
I
lot of stupid people thinking like they're like, "Oh, you need to be investigated by the FBI and CIA." I'm like, What do you mean?" Like they're like, "Oh, you're a terror supporter." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What? This is
and
journalism."
And to those people, I would just say, fine. If you have some contact with the FBI and think that I need to be investigated, then send the FBI this way, because there's
There's a
nothing to hide.
the portraits on. Okay, we have General Petraeus on my wall, the former director of the CIA, and we have
Yeah.
William Webster, the former director of the FBI, on there. Okay, I don't know what these guys are on about. They haven't really fully looked into what I'm doing. It's a lot of these people who don't know me that well, who are criticizing me. The
That they
people who find
don't
it cool,
understand.
the people who find it cool are the veterans themselves. They find the coolest thing. They're freaked out that I did it, but they find it cool that I was able to actually pull it off. And I've met veterans a lot of them who fought in Afghanistan. They find it amazing that I was able to go back there as a American civilian and did what I did. And these are the guys who fought over there, not the people who are so-called Facebook warriors or just people who are just watching the news. There's been a few
Yeah.
news outlets who've interviewed me, and there's been some horrendous comments of these people. But then I look into what they're doing, and they haven't really looked into me, or they don't know that they're just not knowledgeable when it comes to journalism or politics
Yeah.
or history.
Yeah. My suggestion is, and this comes from the perspective of I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either.
Yeah.
It annoys me, but at the end of the day, I don't know these people, and I don't care.
Yeah.
The people who matter in my life are the people who I'm talking to, really, not the random people
Ultimate
who are here.
ultimately, I feel vindicated in my opinions about things when I read what they wrote, and then I'm like, oh, well, clearly they must have missed third or fourth, fifth grade, grammar, because what their comment is almost undecipherable. So I know what the context is. I know what they're trying to say. I'm just disappointed in their lack of ability to use vocabulary.
Yeah.
Chalk it up. If it's a comment that is just very angry and
Well, yeah,
disheartening about what you
I'm
do,
criticizing the people who are just pure anger. There's no
Sure.
it's just no constructive criticism. It's
Yeah.
they're just shouting names at me, like those
Yeah.
people.
well, keep doing it. I think it's outstanding. I'm really glad that your family supports you in it, because
Thank you.
I think ultimately that's one of that is the concrete foundation. That's what's really necessary. So I'm happy that your mother and that your father are both on this trip with you, because it's
Well,
such
I
a
hope
really
Ukraine
cool
works
thing.
out, because the war changes every single day. We don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen in November. So the plan
Yeah.
right now is to go to Ukraine.
Well, if you get to Ukraine and you want to set up a call, we'll talk to you from Ukraine, because
That'll be pretty cool.
their
Yeah, we can do
technology is
that.
a little bit better,
Yeah.
it's just dependent. But yeah, obviously I don't have to tell you, but it's one of those things. Be careful. It's,
Mhm.
that,
This is a different kind of danger. In Afghanistan, it was fears of ISIS or kidnapping or terrorism or just unstable. The region being unstable,
yeah,
especially that there's no Westerners to really help me out, and it's just miles of myself. And the only country to recognize, there's no outside support. Like I said, the only country to recognize Afghanistan is Russia. At least in Ukraine, it's westernized, and I have access to modern technology and
They-
help.
yeah, they have a worldwide recognized president who,
There's already groups and NGOs and other people and
well, yeah,
groups there to help out if anything does happen. And I'm going to make sure I can get the help I need there, because in Afghanistan, I was alone, really.
yeah. Well, we look forward to the next update, and I especially, and everyone needs to make sure that they go subscribe to Filmperia.
Thank you.
There's a link in our in the notes. You can go do that, and go watch these videos, because seeing the interviews with the veterans that you've done is they're just amazing. They're not, and you can watch them. You can watch several in a day, and I have. I don't know that I've watched all 120 that you have out there. That's probably including some shorts and whatnot. But I have watched many of them, and like I said, they are extremely intriguing, and I have enjoyed learning and hearing these people tell their stories from their perspective and what they experience. I think it's phenomenal work you're doing.
Thank
I
you.
keep saying that.
No, I really appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Well, Luke, I appreciate you coming on the show again and giving us an update. I look forward to the next one. Like I said, you get to Ukraine and feel like you've got a minute and want to check in, then we'll do it. But if it takes,
It might be in a metro dodging missiles, but
well, either way, ultimately, I don't want. We don't need to. Yeah, I'll just say, I would prefer you be safely somewhere to do it if that's how it works out. But
Okay.
if it's not
possible,
until
then
you
we'll
get
do it.
back,
There's no guarantees, but
Yeah.
I do want to send you a postcard if I'm able to get some there.
that would be very cool. That would be very cool from Kyiv. That would be awesome. All right. Well, Luke, thank you very much again for being on with me. I appreciate it. We'll wrap this up so that I'm sure you have a Sunday to go about, and or
Homework.
film editing, or setting up your next interview. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, again, Luke Basso, you can find him on YouTube. It's at Filmperia 1945. But check the show notes for the links. Also, want to remind everybody that coming up on September 10th, the next Soul House sessions with Priest Jacobs. It's a conversation with Amethyst Ganaway, artwork by Dogon Kriga. Kriga, and Preach is also going to be spinning records. So the doors open at 5 p.m. at the Koger Center for the Arts. Tickets available. You can check the show notes for that. So we can get this show sold out for them too. And that is going to do it for this episode number 271. Thank you again, Luke, for being on with us. Links to all of our past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media are available on our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger and support the show? Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content. You can visit members.theallaboutnothing.com, or you can find a link on our webpage. You can also give a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com. You can also join our Discord server, links found on our webpage. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. You all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.
The All About Nothing podcast is a product of Big Media and produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. You can follow me across social media by visiting Linktree/Barrett Gruber. And you can follow Zach King on Linktree/AAN Zach. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. To find links to our social media, podcast platforms, and merchandise to support the show, as well as past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or you can call our number and leave a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our sister shows. What the Pod Was That with Carrie, Zach, and myself. Welcome to Wonderland with Ami. Politically Speaking with Erica, Kirsten, and Emily. And Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jameel Brooks and Bill Kimmler. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and punch that notification bell. Thank you for listening, and hear us next week. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media, LLC, and is copyright 2025, all rights reserved.